Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cutting right through the hype of the AI race. Forget all the marketing buzzwords because we're going to break down how the experts actually figure out which AI model is best. Now, everything we're covering today comes from Chapter 7 of a really deep 11-part report on generative AI from Virtualization Options LLC. And our focus is going to be on one key question. How in the world do we properly evaluate and compare these incredible new models? So that's the big question, right? How do we decide? Because whenever you hear about the next big thing in AI, the conversation almost always kicks off with one giant, impressive-sounding number, its parameters. You hear these just mind-boggling numbers thrown around. I mean, take the Titans, like GPT-4. The report mentions it has over 175 billion parameters. That's a truly massive number. And then, of course, the race is on. You see competitors like Google's Gemini pushing that number even higher, past 200 billion. So it's really easy to think this is just a contest of who has the biggest number. Well, here's the thing. It's not. Bigger isn't always better. The report makes a great point here. Thinking about parameter count is a lot like looking at a car's horsepower. Yeah, it's a big, flashy number, but it tells you absolutely nothing about its handling, its safety, or its fuel efficiency. A smaller, smarter model can easily beat a bigger one. It's really about quality over sheer size. Okay, so if it's not just about the size, then what is it about? What really makes a model powerful? Well, it all starts at the very beginning, with its foundation. It is all about the data. I mean, these models are trained on an unbelievable amount of stuff. Trillions of words from books, websites, code, you name it. And that data has to be incredibly diverse, covering a huge range of topics. But, and the report really emphasizes this, the single most important factor is quality. Because you can feed a model trillions of words, but if that data is junk, well, garbage in, garbage out, right? Quality trumps quantity every single time.
So how do experts actually measure this stuff? Well, they've got a whole toolbox of specialized metrics. And when it comes to judging how well an AI can write, one of the first tools they reach for is something called perplexity. Now, perplexity sounds pretty complicated, but the idea is actually kind of simple. It's basically a score for how surprised or confused a model gets by a sentence. It's all about how well it can predict the very next word. And here is the crucial part. A lower score is better. You can think of it as an uncertainty score. A model with low perplexity is really confident about its predictions, and that usually means it generates text that's much more fluent and coherent. It's a huge indicator of quality. But, you can't use the same tool for every single job. You wouldn't judge a painting with a grammar test, would you? So when we're talking about AI that creates images or music, we need a totally different set of tools. In this chart illustrates that point perfectly. For images, they use a metric with a fancy name, FID, that's Fréchet Inception Distance. It's an algorithm that basically compares the AI's art to real pictures to see how realistic it is. But then you look at audio, and the gold standard is still the mean opinion score, or MOS. And you know what that is? It's literally just asking people, hey, how good does this sound? And having them read it. Sometimes the best test is still the human ear. Okay, so all those technical scores in the lab are one thing. But what really matters is how these models perform out in the real world. Because out there, reliability is everything. And this brings us to one of the biggest and most persistent challenges in AI today, the problem of hallucinations. This is when the AI just makes things up. But, and this is the scary part, it presents that fabricated information with total, unshakable confidence as if it were a stone-cold fact. And this is no small issue. A model can have fantastic scores for fluency and style, but if you can't trust it to give you factual information, it becomes useless, or worse, even dangerous for anything important, whether that's in education, business, or anywhere else. So how do we fix this? Well, one of the leading solutions the report highlights is called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Instead of just letting the AI rely on its own massive memory, this technique forces it to first go look up facts from a trusted source and then use those verified facts to construct its answer. It keeps the AI grounded in reality. So after going through all these different ways to measure AI, what's the big takeaway from all this?
Well, the key thing to remember is that there is no single best AI. It's not about finding one magic number. It's about building a complete performance profile.
You need to look at its quality, sure, but also its reliability. How often does it hallucinate? And its efficiency. How fast is it? How much does it cost? The right model for writing creative stories is probably the wrong one for summarizing legal documents. It's all about matching the model's strengths to the job you need it to do. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As these models get better and better at acing all the technical tests we can dream up, how much does our own human judgment still matter? Will our sense of quality, our sense of truth, and even our sense of art, will that always be the ultimate final test?